I never expected my birthday to turn into a journey into the past, one that would uncover secrets buried for decades and change the way I saw my life and my marriage. That morning, everything seemed ordinary. The soft sunlight filtering through the curtains, the aroma of coffee brewing in the kitchen, and the usual birthday greetings from friends and family. I had imagined a quiet, simple celebration, maybe a few balloons, a cake, and the warmth of laughter. But life, as it often does, had a different plan for me that day. When my husband greeted me with a warm smile and a sparkle in his eyes, I felt the familiar comfort of our years together. Yet, there was something different, a subtle excitement, a nervousness I couldn't quite place. I thought it was just the thrill of my birthday, the way he always tried to make it special. Little did I know that this day would unfold into something I could never have anticipated, a revelation that would bridge 30 years of hidden history. The first hint came in a quiet moment, almost innocuous. A knock at the door, followed by a procession of faces I didn't recognize. Strangers. Or so I thought, smiling, hesitant, and yet somehow familiar. My heart skipped a beat as my husband stood beside me, his hand brushing against mine in a gesture both comforting and enigmatic. He introduced them not just as guests, but as a family he had kept hidden for 3 decades. In that instant, the ordinary became extraordinary. My mind raced to understand, to process the reality that had arrived unannounced on my doorstep. Questions tumbled over each other in my head. Why now? Why on my birthday? How could someone I thought I knew completely have lived a life in parallel without my knowledge? And yet, amidst the shock and confusion, there was also a strange sense of anticipation, as if the universe had handed me a story that demanded to be witnessed, not judged. It was the beginning of a journey into the past, a story carefully tucked away, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And it all began on a morning that had promised nothing more than cake and candles, but delivered instead a cascade of memories, emotions, and revelations that I would never forget. That birthday, my world shifted quietly, yet profoundly, and I realized that sometimes the most extraordinary moments come disguised as ordinary ones. As the shock of the morning began to settle, the truth slowly unfolded. My husband had a family he had kept hidden for 30 years. It was almost impossible to comprehend at first. 30 years, a lifetime of memories, milestones, and moments we had shared. Yet there had been another life running parallel to ours, one I had never imagined existed. The thought was both staggering and surreal. How could someone I trusted completely have held such a secret for so long? He spoke quietly, carefully, as if choosing each word with the weight of decades behind it. He explained that circumstances had forced him into choices he never wanted, decisions that kept him apart from this other family. There were stories of love, loss, and sacrifice, of people who had relied on him in ways I had never known. As he spoke, I saw the layers of his life peeling away, revealing a complexity I had only glimpsed in passing, but never truly understood. This revelation was not about betrayal alone. It was about the hidden depths of human life, the secrets we carry, and the ways we try to protect both ourselves and others. The more he shared, the more I realized how carefully he had balanced the two worlds. He had been a devoted husband and partner, yet at the same time, quietly present in another family's life, offering support, love, and guidance from a distance. It was not an easy story to tell, nor an easy one to hear. There was guilt, certainly, and a tension born of decades of silence. But there was also resilience, responsibility, and an unwavering commitment to both lives in ways that were profoundly complicated and deeply human. I sat there listening, absorbing the magnitude of what he had revealed. The hidden family was not a threat to what we had built. Instead, it was a reminder of the layers of life, the unseen stories that shape us, and the choices we make that remain invisible to the world. It was a moment that demanded empathy, patience, and an openness I hadn't realized I possessed. In that quiet living room, on a day meant for celebration, I saw my husband in a new light. 30 years of secrets, of quiet sacrifices, of unseen devotion, everything culminated in this moment of revelation. It was a truth that could have torn us apart, yet it also had the power to bring a deeper understanding of love, forgiveness, and the intricate tapestry of human relationships. The moment the truth sank in, my mind felt caught in a whirlwind. Shock, disbelief, confusion, all collided inside me at once. 30 years of hidden life, and I had not known a thing. My heart pounded in my chest, and my hands felt strangely heavy, as if the weight of this revelation had physical form. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to unravel the mysteries of decades in an instant. But instead, I found myself frozen, caught between emotions that refused to settle. Curiosity crept in alongside the shock. Who were these people? How had they lived? What had my husband shared with them, and what had he withheld? Each question sparked another, a cascade of puzzles that demanded to be solved. I wanted to reach out, to understand, to piece together the fragments of a life I had only glimpsed from the outside. My mind raced through memories of our life together, wondering what moments had intersected with this hidden family, what stories had been quietly parallel to my own. And yet, amidst the whirlwind of curiosity, there was disbelief. How could someone I loved, someone I trusted completely, have carried the secret for so long? How could 30 years pass without a hint, without a single clue that another life existed alongside ours? The disbelief was almost physical, a tension that knotted my stomach and made the room feel simultaneously too large and too small. Every smile, every gesture, every shared memory now seemed to carry a new dimension, a hidden layer I'd never suspected. At the same time, a strange clarity began to emerge. Despite the shock, despite the confusion, there was a part of me that understood. Life is rarely simple, and people are rarely entirely transparent. There are choices we make, sacrifices we keep silent, and burdens we bear quietly. The disbelief softened slightly, replaced by a cautious empathy. I realized that my husband's secret was not just about hiding, it was about protection, about navigating the complexities of human life in the best way he could. I breathed deeply, trying to steady my racing heart. The room seemed charged with tension, yet also with possibility. In that moment, I understood that my reaction could define what came next: anger, resentment, or an opportunity for understanding. My emotions were raw, complex, and undeniable, but they were also the first step in a journey toward acceptance, toward grasping the truth of a life far richer and more complicated than I had ever imagined. The knock on the door felt ordinary at first, just another sound in the rhythm of my birthday morning. But when I opened it, the ordinary shifted instantly into something I could never have anticipated. There, standing on the threshold, was a group of people I had never met, yet somehow felt connected to, as if pieces of a puzzle I didn't know existed were suddenly laid out before me. My husband stood beside me, his hand lightly brushing mine, a small anchor in the storm of emotions swelling inside me. The family, his hidden family, stood there with hesitant smiles, carrying an air of both excitement and uncertainty. There were parents, siblings, perhaps even children, faces that seemed familiar in the way strangers can sometimes feel familiar, like echoes of stories whispered long ago. Each step they took into the room seemed measured and careful, as though they were stepping not just into my home, but into a life that had been ongoing without them. I watched as they exchanged glances, tentative greetings, and the slight awkwardness of people trying to bridge decades of distance in a single moment. The room was charged with a quiet tension, yet there was also a surprising warmth. I could see the longing in their eyes, the hope that they would be welcomed, in the vulnerability that comes with showing up after so many years. My husband introduced them gently, explaining their connection, their stories, the years that had passed. Every word he spoke seemed to layer the room with history, moments of joy, sorrow, struggle, and endurance that had remained hidden for so long. I felt a mixture of awe and disbelief, trying to take in every detail. The way they smiled, the subtle gestures that mirrored my husband's own, the way the room seemed to expand with their presence. It was like stepping into a story I had only read snippets of, a narrative that was now unfolding right before my eyes. The air was thick with unspoken emotions, yet there was an undercurrent of possibility, a sense that even after 30 years, connections could be made and understanding could begin. As I welcomed them, I realized that this moment was not just a revelation, but a bridge between past and present, between hidden truths and open hearts. Their arrival transformed the ordinary space of my home into something sacred, a place where stories long kept in the shadows could finally meet the light. It was a moment that demanded attention, empathy, and a willingness to embrace the unexpected, an unforgettable gift that no birthday could ever have prepared me for. As the initial shock of the family's arrival began to settle, I found myself navigating a landscape of emotions more intricate than I could have imagined. It wasn't just one feeling that washed over me, but a turbulent mixture: betrayal, compassion, surprise, and an unexpected thread of understanding, all weaving together in ways that were both confusing and enlightening. Each emotion seemed to compete for attention, demanding to be acknowledged, yet none could dominate completely. Betrayal came first, quietly at first, like a shadow at the edge of my awareness. How could my husband, the man I had trusted implicitly for years, have lived a parallel life without my knowledge? 30 years is not a small span of time. It is decades of shared memories, plans, and dreams. The thought that he had been holding back such a monumental truth felt like a crack appearing in the foundation of everything I thought I knew. It was a sharp, piercing feeling, one that made my chest tighten and my mind race with questions that had no immediate answers. Yet, alongside the sting of betrayal, compassion began to emerge, surprising me with its presence. I started to see the difficult choices he had faced, the sacrifices he had quietly made, and the delicate balancing act that had kept two worlds functioning without unraveling. It was not perfect, and it was not without mistakes, but it was undeniably human. I could sense the courage it must have taken to keep these lives intact, even at the cost of secrecy. Compassion softened the edges of betrayal, creating a space where understanding could begin to grow. Surprise also lingered, a quiet but persistent undercurrent. There was wonder in seeing a family I had never known, people who carried pieces of my husband's heart that I had never witnessed. Each introduction, each shared glance brought fresh astonishment and curiosity. The reality of their existence was almost magical, as if a hidden chapter of life had suddenly appeared, demanding to be read and understood. Finally, understanding began to take root, fragile but real. I realized that life is rarely linear, that love and responsibility can take forms we cannot always anticipate, and that human hearts are capable of both error and grace. The complexity of my emotions mirrored the complexity of life itself, a mixture of pain and empathy, disbelief and acceptance, surprise and recognition. In that moment, I understood that to truly embrace this revelation, I needed to honor all these emotions, allowing each to inform my response rather than suppressing or denying them. In that moment, as the weight of revelation pressed on my heart, I realized that I had a choice in how to respond. I could let anger, resentment, or betrayal dominate the room, or I could choose a path that reflected understanding, compassion, and the love that had brought us together in the first place. And so, instead of reacting with hostility or fear, I smiled. A simple gesture, yet one filled with meaning. It was not a smile born of ignorance or denial, but of acceptance, empathy, and the quiet grace that comes from acknowledging the complexity of human life. The smile was my first step in bridging the gap that 30 years of secrets had created. It was a way of saying, without words, that I was ready to witness their presence, to recognize their importance, and to honor the truth that had been kept hidden for so long. In that smile was an acknowledgement of the courage it had taken for my husband to reveal this part of his life, and of the vulnerability of a family stepping into the light after decades of silence. It was a gesture that allowed the room to breathe, to soften, and to shift from tension to connection. Along with the smile came a small, deliberate gesture. I reached for a box, a token of recognition, understanding, and a bridge between past and present. The box was not just a physical object, it was a symbol of my willingness to embrace this new reality with an open heart. It spoke of acceptance, of shared humanity, and of the possibility that relationships could grow stronger even after long-held secrets were revealed. In giving the box, I communicated that while the past could not be undone, the present and the future could be met with empathy, kindness, and grace. As I extended this gesture, I saw the expressions on their faces shift, hesitation softening into relief, uncertainty melting into tentative smiles. In that moment, I realized that sometimes the most powerful responses are quiet ones. They do not demand confrontation or judgment. Instead, they create space for understanding, healing, and connection. My smile and my gesture became a signal that despite the shock, despite the complexity of emotions, I was choosing empathy over anger, acceptance over resentment, and love over fear. That small, deliberate act transformed the atmosphere of the room. It was a turning point, a moment where tension gave way to possibility and where the first step toward reconciliation, understanding, and shared humanity was taken. In that smile and that box, I found not just grace, but also the courage to embrace a story far larger than my own. The box I held in my hands was small, unassuming, almost ordinary at first glance. Yet, in that moment, it became something far greater than its physical form. It became a vessel of meaning, a symbol of everything I felt and everything I wanted to convey. It was not about the material object inside, though there may have been a simple gift within. It was about what the act of giving it represented. The box embodied forgiveness, acceptance, and the possibility of moving forward together despite the long-hidden truths that had just been revealed. In offering the box, I was extending more than a gesture. I was offering a bridge between past mistakes and present understanding, between secrecy and transparency, between fear and love. I wanted them to know that I saw them, that I acknowledged their presence, and that I was willing to meet this moment with an open heart. The box was a tangible way to communicate the intangible, that even after 30 years of hidden stories, there was room for empathy, grace, and shared humanity. The symbolism of the box also carried a personal dimension. It reflected my choice to respond not with anger, judgment, or resentment, but with compassion and understanding. In life, we are often confronted with moments that challenge us, moments that test our capacity to forgive and embrace complexity. This box, simple in appearance, became a representation of that choice, a choice to honor the truth without letting it destroy the bonds we had built. It was a reminder that love and understanding are active acts, that they must be expressed, even in the smallest gestures, to carry their full weight. Moreover, the box symbolized hope for connection. It was an invitation to begin weaving together the threads of our lives, to create a space where stories could be shared, memories could be celebrated, and relationships could grow stronger in the light of honesty. It spoke of reconciliation, not as a grand statement, but as a quiet, deliberate act that acknowledged the past while opening the door to the future. In that simple gesture, I realized the profound power of symbolism. The box became a focal point of transformation, a way to convey love, forgiveness, and acceptance without needing to articulate every complicated thought and feeling. It was a bridge, a gift, and a promise all at once, a reminder that even the smallest act can carry the deepest meaning, and that grace often begins with a single, deliberate gesture. Once the initial shock and tension began to soften, the real gift of that day emerged: the stories. The hidden family began to share glimpses of lives I had never known, memories that had existed quietly for decades, and moments that had shaped who they were. Each story was a revelation, a window into a world that had run parallel to mine, and each one carried a mixture of joy, sorrow, struggle, and resilience. Listening to them was like uncovering a secret garden, rich with history, emotion, and depth, waiting patiently to be discovered. There were stories of small triumphs, graduations celebrated quietly, milestones marked in private, moments of love and care that had unfolded without recognition. There were stories of hardship, of challenges faced without support, and of sacrifices made to ensure the family's survival and happiness. Each tale added layers of understanding, explaining not only why they had existed, but also the ways in which love and devotion had persisted despite them. By the end of the day, the unveiling of their stories had transformed the space around us. What had begun as shock and disbelief evolved into curiosity, compassion, and connection. I understood that these lives, once hidden, were not a threat. They were an extension of the man I loved and of the human experience itself. Listening to them, I felt the power of storytelling to heal, to bridge gaps, and to reveal the profound beauty that exists even in lives once shrouded in secrecy. The revelation of my husband's hidden family did more than shock me. It fundamentally reshaped my understanding of him, our marriage, and the very meaning of family. In the beginning, it felt like a rupture, a fracture in the life I thought was complete and secure. Questions surged unbidden. How could I have not known? What did this mean for the trust we had built over decades? And yet, as I processed the situation, I realized that beneath the surface of secrecy was a complex web of love, duty, and sacrifice that I had never fully appreciated. My understanding of my husband deepened profoundly. I began to see the courage it had taken for him to balance two lives, the patience required to care for a family in silence, and the quiet devotion that had remained steadfast despite years of hidden truths. His imperfections became more human, his choices more nuanced. I realized that love is not always simple or linear. It can be messy, complicated, and still genuine. The revelation did not diminish my love for him, it enriched it, adding layers of empathy, respect, and admiration that had previously gone unexamined. Our marriage, too, was transformed. I understood that the strength of a relationship is tested not only by everyday trials, but by extraordinary revelations. The trust that had been momentarily shaken became an opportunity to grow closer, to communicate more openly, and to embrace the totality of each other's experiences. The hidden family, rather than threatening our bond, illuminated the resilience and adaptability at the heart of our partnership. It taught me that marriage is not just about shared history, but also about how we respond to surprises, navigate complexities, and extend grace when life presents unforeseen challenges. Perhaps most profoundly, my understanding of family shifted. Family is not a static concept. It is not limited to what is visible or convenient. It is expansive, embracing the hidden, the unexpected, and the relationships that form beyond our initial comprehension. The arrival of this hidden family revealed that love, responsibility, and connection can exist in forms we cannot always anticipate, and that sometimes family is about the bonds we nurture quietly and consistently, even when no one is watching. By the end of that day, I realized that relationships are defined not by perfection, but by empathy, understanding, and the willingness to accept life in all its complexity. This revelation did not break us, it broadened our hearts, deepened our connections, and forever changed the way I understood love, marriage, and the meaning of family. As I reflect on that extraordinary birthday, I realize that the day was far more than a celebration of another year of life. It was a lesson in love, resilience, empathy, and the unexpected ways that truth can arrive. Life has a way of presenting us with surprises that test not only our hearts, but also our capacity to grow, understand, and embrace complexity. The revelation of my husband's hidden family was one of those moments, a challenge wrapped in the guise of a gift, teaching me that love is not always neat, predictable, or confined to the life we imagine. Love, I learned, is expansive. It is capable of stretching beyond boundaries we thought defined it, of holding more than we imagine possible, and of embracing both the light and shadow of human experience. That day, I saw that love is not simply about comfort and certainty, it is about courage, patience, and the willingness to accept life in all its unexpected fullness. The hidden family, rather than diminishing our connection, revealed the depth and resilience of the love that had endured across decades, in ways both visible and unseen. Resilience became clear as I witnessed the quiet strength it took for my husband and for his family to arrive in that moment. Life does not always unfold according to plan. It throws challenges, secrets, and surprises that demand adaptability and endurance. What I saw in that room was not just the weight of hidden truths, but the strength it took to face them, to be vulnerable, and to find a way forward. True resilience is not about perfection. It is about navigating life with honesty, humility, and a willingness to embrace the unexpected. Empathy, too, became a guiding force. I realized that every story has layers, every life has unseen chapters, and every person carries experiences that shape who they are. To respond with anger or judgment would have closed the door to understanding. By choosing compassion, I opened the door to connection, reconciliation, and shared humanity. Empathy allowed me to see beyond secrecy to the hearts and intentions beneath, and in doing so, it became a powerful tool for healing. Ultimately, that birthday reminded me that life's unexpected truths are opportunities to grow, to love more deeply, and to expand our understanding of what family, loyalty, and grace truly mean. By embracing the complexities, by allowing empathy and resilience to guide us, we can transform shock into insight, secrecy into connection, and hidden stories into shared legacies. That day was a gift far greater than candles or cake. It was a lesson in the enduring power of love, the courage of the human heart, and the extraordinary beauty that can emerge when we welcome life in all its unpredictability. This story wasn't just about a birthday. It was a journey through memories, secrets, and the depths of human emotions. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit the like button. It motivates us to bring more stories like this to you. And if you want to join us on more emotional and inspiring journeys, make sure to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon so you never miss a story. Most importantly, we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments. How did this story make you feel? Have you ever experienced a moment that completely changed the way you see someone or your life? Your stories inspire us just as much as we hope ours inspire you. Remember, every story has layers, every heart has a lesson, and sometimes the most unexpected moments teach us the most. Let's explore these journeys together.